Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Yes, I said heading into this break that I didn't expect much news about Celtic. I thought it was going to be quiet on the Celtic front. But was I wrong? Yesterday, a signing announced. Today, a fresh rumour in the rumour mill. Yes, we have heard some talk that Celtic are closing in. Yes, take everything with a pinch of salt. Closing in on yet another signing. Didn't expect to be making this video today. Let's talk about it. It's Celtic transfer talk. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell if you haven't. Apparently, YouTube has been struggling with sending out the notifications as of recent. Comment section has been letting me know they're not receiving them. So make sure the bell's pressed. Just check it. It's down there. It's absolutely free. But most importantly, like and subscribe. Yeah, we're here today in a video I didn't expect to make, as I said. Did anybody catch Canada versus Belgium last night? It was a cracking game. Canada very unlucky. Belgium robbing them of a win. One moment of magic for Michy Batshuayi, who was overall a donkey, and they managed to beat Canada. They struggled to get the goal they needed. It was almost kind of a resembling performance of Celtic in the Champions League. All these chances, having the ball for a lot of it, very exciting, but they just couldn't finish their dinner. They couldn't put it in the back of the net. And how very fitting that someone in that Canada team is now being linked with Celtic. And according to some outlets, closing in. Celtic closing in on him. So Celtic have been linked with Canadian right back Alistair Johnston, who played really, really well last night. Now, if you watched the Canada game last night, you would have seen that he was one of the standout players on the park, and probably, maybe, the standout player for Canada on the park last night. And going into that game, there were murmurs. There was a couple of things online that suggested that Alistair Johnston could be heading towards the Celtic direction. But today, we've woke up with a lot of news articles, a lot of stories reporting that the guy is close to a move to Celtic. The most valuable defender in the MLS in America, apparently looking like Celtic might be landing him. Out of nowhere, I woke up, I was like, oh my God, played well last night, and here he is. And I knew there was those murmurs there. I knew there was a, slight top. I thought it was just internet trash, to be honest. I didn't really expect it to be going anywhere. But if you read a bit more into it today, there is strong suggestions that it looks as though he's heading to Parkhead soon. So we'll talk about it all. As I always say, take it with a pinch of salt, but reliable sources. And, one that, after last night's performance, looks a decent player, looks like somebody I would really like to see in the hoops. So Transfermarkt, the website I always use for my research actually, heading into these videos, are reporting, and in their words, that Celtic are in advanced talks to sign Canadian men national team star Alistair Johnston from CF Montreal in the MLS. Multiple sources with direct knowledge of the situation have told Transfermarkt that a deal is now closing in for the $6 million rated right back, who can also play at centre back. And one of the guys who broke this story, and the guy that broke it for Transfermarkt, was actually a journalist called Manuel Veth, a German man who I actually have been listening to for a number of years now. He runs a German Bundesliga podcast. I have been listening to it for years. So when I seen his name pop up, I was like, okay, there's someone I can trust. That's someone I've been listening to for the longest time. But he is an author and a journalist for Transfermarkt. Does a lot of reporting in the Bundesliga and over in America too. I believe he might be Canadian or American based, so he has got knowledge on the team and the player. Direct knowledge is being used here with multiple sources, so it's looking slightly reliable. And there was a lot more that went on to be said. Johnston has recently been linked with a move to Italian side Bologna, a club also owned by the Saputo family, who owns the club Montreal. But Celtic are leading the race, and a deal between the player and the MLS club has already been formally agreed upon. So there you go. A move to Scotland is straightforward for Johnston, as he holds a UK passport on top of both his Canadian, and here's one that will please a lot of people, his Irish citizenship. So we're looking at someone who, Canadian international, Canadian citizenship, also has an Irish citizenship, which ties in very nicely with Celtic, as we know, but also holds a UK passport. So, when we're talking about signing players, the process has been simplified, not having to go through all the processes of getting work permits for someone who is over in Canada and a Canadian international. Oh, he's got a UK passport, apparently. So, that's handy as well. So those were the two big quotes that came out of the Transfermarkt report this morning. So, I mean, a lot of phrases being thrown around here that apparently a formal deal has been agreed. You know, multiple sources. It's looking like this is actually very realistic at this moment in time. So let's talk a bit about the player himself. We know that there's a deal apparently, from what the reading suggests, close to being done, but a bit more about the player. 24 years of age right now, 31 appearances for the Canadian international side, including his appearance last night in the World Cup. He'll go on to play 2 more games, you'd imagine, as well, in that World Cup group stage. Whether the progress beyond that is up for debate right now. They looked good, but will they manage to fight through the group? Who knows? But yeah, 31 appearances for them. Currently playing with Montreal in the MLS, where last year was one of the best players in the league. He's had a significant rise of interest over the past few years, and a significant rise in value over the past year. His transfer market value has went through the roof. As I said, currently being rated around €6 million. That has went up. I think there's a graphic that I can put on screen. In fact, it's went up dramatically over the past few years after impressive performances in the MLS. And interestingly enough, here's a graphic that I'm going to throw on screen for all that it means. You know, this is obviously a website's individual rating, and it's not like, you know, official. It's not like this can be said it's proof in the pudding sort of stuff. But an interesting graphic that I'll throw on screen now, rating him as the 21st best player in the MLS, the best player in Montreal's side. And when it comes to right backs, he's in the top 100 best right backs in the world currently. That's just, you know, a fun infographic for you. It doesn't suggest much. I mean, you're not going to take everything off of that, but interesting. I passed it and I thought to myself, that's quite handy. But a player who likes to get forward, a player that we, as you might have seen last night, was very confident and taking the ball and driving with it, but apparently defensively very good as well. A lot of interesting articles out there talking about how he's a strong tackler of the ball, very good at passing the ball. He carries all the sort of traits that you would like, and maybe more, for an Ange Postecoglou right back. Because I think when you think of our fullbacks at the moment and you think about an Ange fullback, suddenly your head goes to someone who can come in the inside, pass the ball well, move forward well, and just very, very attacking. But if you've got all of that in a player, and then you suddenly throw in a strong tackler, a good defender, good at standing up to the opposition, you're suddenly putting together a concoction for a very good right back, and someone who I think would benefit our side massively. So he's someone who I like the look of. Only watched him once in my life, be it last night, but from all the reading that I've done and from all the reports that have been said so far, looks a very exciting prospect to become a Celtic player. 35 appearances in the MLS last season. Montreal made it to the playoffs. Didn't go all the way, of course. 4 goals and 4 assists. So he looks likely to contribute goals to this Celtic side. And in comparison to Josip Uranovic in domestic football last season, be it with less appearances, Uranovic got 3 goals and 1 assist. Different leagues, different standard, of course. You're talking very different, in fact, the way that the football is played in the MLS. But you know, we've seen how good Uranovic was last year. He was one of the best players on the side. We're ranting and raving about him, and it's the reason he's been looked at by clubs as big as Atletico Madrid and Manchester United and Chelsea and all the rest of it. So, you know, I like the thought of someone coming in with 8 goal contributions in the MLS last season, being very highly rated, looking good on a World Cup stage. I think that if Uranovic was to go, this could be the natural replacement. Now, obviously, a lot of people will be shouting and kind of championing for Tony Ralston to get that spot, and he probably does deserve it at this rate. But to add this Johnston fellow into the mix, certainly not a bad idea. So it brings up the question, does this once again suggest that Uranovic could be on his way? We spoke about this on the channel last week with Josip Uranovic and whether or not he'll be leaving Celtic in the January window. Now, I would suspect, and if I was to throw out a number, you're going to be talking a few million quid for the Alistair Johnston here. Maybe the likes of 3-4 million. The one thing that I didn't talk on was the fact there is only 1 year left on his deal. Once January hits, there's only 1 year left on the contract of Alistair Johnston at Montreal. So, you know, we might get a cut price fee, but once again, it might be a fee that is still a few million quid. Does that mean that Uranovic is on his way? It's food for thought. Uranovic did respond to some Instagram posts with laughing faces last week, suggesting that he's on the way out. But if the right move is there for Josip Uranovic and there is an offer on the table, Celtic might strike while the iron is hot, while they can make big bucks. I would not be surprised if he leaves in January. So I think that this is very interesting that it's emerged now. and maybe does suggest that the end of the road is coming for Uranovic at Celtic. And I wish him the best. I've got no malice at all. I've got no bad feelings towards Uranovic moving on. He's 27. You want the best out of his career that he can get. He's also got obviously a big World Cup campaign which could really progress that move even quicker. But Johnston seems right now one of very many tasty options on the table for Celtic to replace Uranovic with. And I think one thing that we can all say is, once again, it's nice to see us shopping in a market with maybe some untapped potential. How often do we see players come over here from, the MLS in general, but, especially Canadian players? There's not, the Canada team has a good few, obviously Wotherspoon playing at St Johnstone. We've seen the likes of Scott Arfield as well in the past as well. A couple of other guys who have been dotted in and around Scotland at times, but there's been no really big headline signings from the MLS over recent times. Alistair Johnston would be one of the first for Celtic. We've seen players leave to head to the MLS, but we've never really brought any in of significance. So it's an untapped market for us. It's something new, it's something exciting, but by all means, going off what I seen of him last night and by what reports say of him, could be a very good option. And I'm all for it. I must say, I am all for it. Anyway, there you go. That's today's rumours for you. Obviously, as I always say, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm here to give my opinion and report on what I've seen. But yeah, there you go. Alistair Johnston. Is he on the way in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Much appreciated. And I'll see you all next time.